Welcome back to Sip and Talk. Great to have you with us.
Hello, everyone. Good to be here.
We are diving into something really significant today, a topic that's genuinely buzzing, especially right now.
Absolutely. It's got layers, definitely. Lots to unpack.
For sure. So today, July 26th, is a huge day in Taiwan. It's basically Recall Day.
That's right. A major exercise in democracy happening as we speak.
So naturally, our whole conversation today is about Taiwan's Great Recall movement. We're going to get into what's behind it, how it works, all that.
Exactly. And we'll, look at it from an international perspective, try to stay objective, just lay out the facts, the history, the rules.
Right. No taking sides, just understanding what's going on in this really fascinating situation. Okay, so first things first. Let's set the scene a bit for anyone maybe not following this super closely.
Okay.
We're talking Taiwan, vibrant democracy, right? Multi-party system, free elections, civil liberties, open media. It's like a totally different operating system compared to mainland China.
Completely different. China, obviously, operates under a single-party authoritarian system. The Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, is in control. Information is tightly managed. Freedoms are limited.
So you've got these two systems side by side with very different values, and that creates, well, tension.
Huge tension.
Yeah.
And China has always maintained its goal is reunification, viewing Taiwan as a province that needs to come back.
By force, if necessary, they often add.
Right, and they use all sorts of methods, economic pressure, diplomatic isolation, military intimidation. It's been going on for decades.
But Taiwan's become much more, well, aware and resistant, hasn't it? Especially lately.
Increasingly so. People are very protective of their democratic way of life.
Yes.
They see the pressure from Beijing, and there's a real determination to stand firm. This isn't new, but it feels like it's ramping up.
Which brings us right to this recall movement, because it's not just general vibes, is it? It's specific.
Very specific. It's really driven by public concern over certain actions by legislators from two parties, the KMT, the
main opposition party.
Right. And the DPP, the Taiwan People's Party. Some voters feel their actions, their statements seem a bit too, well, pro-CCP.
Meaning they seem to align more with Beijing's interests than Taiwan's?
That's the core accusation, yes. It's like voters are looking at their representatives and asking, hang on, whose side are you really on? Are you representing us?
A fundamental question, really.
Absolutely. So to understand this whole thing, we need to look at a few key areas. First, the KMT is hitting back, calling these malicious recalls. We need to unpack that claim.
Okay. Fact versus fiction there.
Second, why is this recall system even a thing? Is it actually a healthy part of democracy, or is it just destabilizing?
Good question.
And finally, what does it actually mean if these recalls succeed? For the politicians, for the parties, for Taiwan's democracy itself.
Got it. So KMT's counterclaims, the role of recall in democracy, and the potential impact. Let's dive in. All right, let's tackle that malicious recall claim head on. The KMT is saying this is basically just the DPP, the ruling party, playing politics, trying to get rid of opposition lawmakers unfairly.
Yeah, that's the narrative they're pushing, that it's purely partisan, a political attack.
But does the history of recalls in Taiwan actually back that up?
Well, not really, no. If you look at the successful recall cases in the past, people like Huang Kuchang, Wang Haoyu, Chen Powei, they were almost always initiated by civic groups.
Not by the DPP itself.
Primarily driven by grassroots organizations, local community groups, activists, people on the ground who felt their representative wasn't doing the job or had crossed a line. It takes a huge amount of effort from ordinary citizens.
It's more bottom-up than top-down, usually.
Historically, yes. It suggests these movements often have real organic roots in public dissatisfaction, not just a party directive.
That's interesting. And hasn't the KMT tried to use recalls themselves?
Oh, absolutely. They have a history of initiating recall attempts against DPP or other party figures. They even tried a kind of counter-recall strategy against someone like Cao Minlin.
So they use the tool when it suits them.
Exactly. Yeah. But here's the kicker. Most of the KMT-initiated recalls failed.
Why is that significant?
It reinforces the point that you can't just decide to recall someone successfully. You need genuine, widespread public support. It proves the system isn't easily manipulated just for partisan gain. You need the people behind you.
Which points to those high thresholds you mentioned earlier.
Precisely. These aren't just minor hurdles. They're designed to ensure legitimacy, to prevent constant destabilizing recall attempts based on flimsy grounds.
So it's hard to actually succeed.
Incredibly hard. Think about the recall of Han Kuo-yu, the former mayor of Kaohsiung, back in 2020. That took a monumental effort. Or even going back further, the energy around the sunflower movement. These things require a massive mobilization.
So the DPP might support these current recalls, but they couldn't likely pull them off on their own.
Highly unlikely. Getting, what was it, 10% of signatures in Phase 2, and then having 25% of all eligible voters vote yes on recall day, that takes more than just party machinery. It takes real, deep public anger or frustration.
Okay, so if it's not necessarily malicious in the way the KMT claims, what is the role of recall? Is it actually good for democracy?
Well, fundamentally, the recall system is a constitutional right given to citizens. It's a tool for them to supervise their elected officials during their term.
Not just waiting for the next election every few years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think of it like this. You hire someone for a job, they sign a contract, maybe for 4 years. But if after a year, they're doing a terrible job or actively working against your company's interests.
You wouldn't just wait 3 more years to fire them.
Right. You'd want a mechanism to address it sooner. The recall is that mechanism for public office. It's about ongoing accountability.
Making democracy work between elections.
That's the core idea. It embodies this concept of midterm accountability. Democracy shouldn't just be showing up to vote and then tuning out. It's about having ways to ensure representatives stay aligned with the people who elected them.
A safety valve, kind of?
A safety valve, a feedback loop, whatever you want to call it. It keeps the relationship between the voter and the representative more dynamic.
Is this unique to Taiwan, though? Or do other places do this?
Oh, plenty of other places have recall systems. It's not uniquely Taiwanese at all.
Like where?
Well, the U.S. is a big example. Remember Governor Gray Davis in California? Recalled in 2003, Arnold Schwarzenegger took his place. That was huge news.
Right, I remember that.
And you see variations elsewhere. Switzerland, with its strong tradition of direct democracy, has similar mechanisms. South Korea allows recalls for local officials. Even some local governments in the UK have ways to recall councillors under certain conditions.
So it's a known democratic tool.
Definitely. The main difference, often, is how difficult it is to actually use it. The specific rules, the thresholds you have to meet.
And Taiwan's thresholds are high.
Extremely high. Let's break it down again because it really shows how serious this is. Phase 1. You need signatures from 1% of the voters in that district just to propose a recall.
Okay, starting point.
Phase 2. You need signatures from 10% of the voters in the district. Think about that 1 in 10 people have to sign on. That's a massive organizational lift.
Wow. Yeah, that's already significant.
But the final hurdle is voting day. It's not just about getting more yes votes than no votes.
There's another catch.
A big one. The number of yes votes must also be more than 25% of the total number of eligible voters in that district.
25% of everyone who could vote, not just those who show up.
Exactly. So even if turnout is low or if people vote no, you still need to hit that 25% threshold of all potential voters.
That is incredibly difficult. It's like a super referendum with a built-in minimum support level.
Precisely. So if a recall succeeds in Taiwan, it's not a fluke. It signals genuine, widespread, and deeply felt dissatisfaction. It means a huge amount of energy was poured into making it happen.
It's a roar from the crowd, not just a whisper.
You got it. An undeniable statement. So building on that, if one or more of these recalls do succeed today, what are the actual consequences? What happens next?
Yeah, what are the ripple effects?
Well, first, for the individual politician, it's obviously a massive blow. A direct public vote of no confidence. It says your constituents have rejected your performance, your statements, whatever the reason.
Career ending, potentially?
Often, yes.
Yeah.
It's a very public repudiation, but it goes beyond the individual.
Right. You mentioned the party earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It sends a very strong, even if indirect, signal to their political party. The party has to react. Do they defend the recalled person? Do they ignore the public sentiment?
And how they react matters.
Hugely. If they seem dismissive or out of touch, it can damage their overall image, especially with younger voters who often value accountability very highly. It can make the party look arrogant or like they don't respect the democratic process.
So it puts the party in a really tough spot.
Definitely. And beyond the individual and the party, a successful recall also says something powerful about civic society.
How so?
It shows the energy, the commitment, the organizing power of ordinary citizens and civic groups. We saw this with Chen Po-wei's recall, which had support from conservative religious groups. Or Wang Haoyu's. Driven more by local community frustration, it proves that grassroots movements, when sustained, can achieve significant political change, even against the odds. It's a demonstration of civic power.
Let's look at that track record again quickly. You mentioned some names.
Sure. Wang Haoyu, DPP, recalled 2021 controversial statements were key. Huang Ji, initially MPP then DPP, faced a recall in 2021, but it failed, seen mostly as retaliatory. Chen Powei, Taiwan state-building party, recalled 2021 controversial background, became a political target.
And then there was a failed one against Cao Minlin in 2022.
Right, DPP member, KMT initiated it, but it didn't gain enough traction. And now, today, Huang Zhen from the KMT is facing one largely over that surrender to CCP comment.
So it's a mixed bag, but success is possible under the right or perhaps wrong circumstances for the politician.
Exactly. And if multiple KMT legislators were recalled today, that could really shift things in the legislative yuan, couldn't it?
No.
Well, those recalled seats would go to by-elections, and it's possible the DPP could win some or all of those seats.
Potentially regaining a majority they lost.
Potentially, yes, or at least significantly strengthening their position. That could change the whole legislative dynamic, especially on really critical issues like defense, foreign policy, areas where the KMT and DPP have very different views.
So the stakes are actually quite high for the overall political balance.
Very high. It's not just about individual seats. It could reshape the legislative landscape.
Okay, let's get into the real meat of why people are so upset right now. What specifically triggered this current wave? You said it started around early 2024.
That's when the KMT and TPP formed an alliance in the legislature after the elections. And they started pushing some pretty controversial bills.
And people felt like they were changing the rules.
That was the perception for many, yeah. It felt like an overreach, using their new majority in ways that seemed to go beyond normal legislative business.
What kind of things did they try to do?
One major point of contention was attempts to expand the legislature's own power, potentially at the expense of other branches of government.
Like what?
A really controversial move was effectively refusing to confirm appointments to the Constitutional Court. That risked paralyzing Taiwan's highest court. Imagine the U.S. Congress just refusing to confirm any Supreme Court justices indefinitely.
Yeah, that would be a crisis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Critics saw it as undermining judicial independence. They also pushed for changes to government budgets, trying to shift funds to KMT-run local areas, or even cut or freeze central government budgets.
Which sounds like using budget power for political leverage.
That's how many interpreted it. Actions that seemed designed to hinder the central government led by the DPP and consolidate power locally or within the legislature itself.
And this is where the Pro-CCP label really started sticking.
Yes, because civic groups and DPP supporters looked at these actions obstructing the judiciary, interfering with budgets, and saw them not just as obstruction, but as potentially weakening Taiwan's democratic institutions in ways that could, perhaps inadvertently, benefit Beijing.
So groups like the Taiwan Inspiration Association saying this is about restoring legislative democracy.
They mean restoring what they see as the proper balance and function of the legislature, pushing back against this perceived overreach.
But the KMT obviously sees it differently.
Completely differently. They argue they are performing legitimate democratic oversight, holding the ruling party accountable, which is the opposition's job. They say the DPP is just using the recall as a political weapon to claw back power they lost fair and square in the election.
And this fight is playing out everywhere, like online.
Oh, definitely. Social media is a battleground. You see KMT supporters accusing the DPP of manipulation, while recall supporters argue it's a necessary defense against KMT actions that threaten Taiwan's democracy or sovereignty. It's deeply polarizing.
It's not just the laws either, right? It's statements people have made, that idea of Taiwan being pushed towards an abyss.
That's a powerful image people are using. And specific comments have poured gasoline on the fire. We already mentioned Huang Yan's surrender to the CCP for survival remark.
Which is just staggering to hear from an elected official in Taiwan.
Absolutely. Then you have the TPP leader, Ko Wen-je, who sometimes takes a more ambiguous stance on the China threat. Critics say this vagueness blurs important strategic lines.
Not taking a clear stance is seen as risky in itself.
For some, yes. And then that incredibly chilling comment from some new immigrants saying being forced back to China would be like returning to the abyss. It just starkly highlights what's at stake for people who see Taiwan as a refuge from authoritarianism.
Wow. And then there was that KMT delegation visit to Beijing, led by Fu Kunshi.
Yes, that was highly significant. Fu Kunshi, the KMT's caucus leader, took 16 KMT legislators to Beijing, and they met with very senior CCP officials.
Including this Wang Hunning guy. You said he was important.
Extremely important. Wang Hunning is often called the CCP's three-dynasty national tutor. He's basically the ideological brain behind Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao, and now Xi Jinping.
Wow. the architect of their thinking.
Pretty much. He's on the Politburo Standing Committee, the absolute top tier of power. And crucially, he directly oversees the CCP's United Front work targeting Taiwan.
United Front, what's that exactly?
It's the CCP's strategy to influence and co-opt groups outside the party, political parties, religious groups, business communities, overseas Chinese, to align them with Beijing's goals. Specifically regarding Taiwan, it's about promoting unification and undermining support for Taiwan's sovereignty.
So Wang Huning is the guy in charge of trying to influence Taiwan from within.
He's a key figure, yes.
Yeah.
So for the KMT caucus leader and 16 legislators to meet with him, especially while Taiwan was dealing with earthquake recovery.
Bad timing.
And then for Fu Kunchi to make statements about sharing common culture, bloodline, being one family. Many in Taiwan saw that as playing right into Beijing's United Front narrative. Not just a polite visit, but something politically damaging.
Okay, that context makes the visit seem much more significant.
It absolutely was in the eyes of critics.
And this ties into those awful armed unification comments, too, the ones from the mainland spouses.
Yes, that incident in March 2025 where Taiwan revoked the residency of 3 mainland spouses who'd publicly supported a forceful takeover. One saying Taiwan would be rubble in half an hour, people cannon fodder.
Just horrific stuff.
And Taiwan's government saw those not as free speech, but as political acts posing a national security threat. President Lai Ching-te responded strongly, rejecting unification, calling China a hostile force.
And Beijing retaliated by naming Taiwanese people as fugitives.
Right. It just shows how incredibly tense and sensitive everything is. Any perceived step towards Beijing by Taiwanese politicians can ignite massive public anger because the stakes feel existential. It deepens the divisions within Taiwan itself.
So bring it back to the KMT's perspective. What are they most worried about with these recalls?
They mentioned one-party dominance,
It's
right?
out.
That's their main stated fear. Figures like Han Kuo-yu, the legislative Yuan president now, and the party leadership worry that if too many KMT legislators are recalled, the DPP could gain a supermajority.
And they argue that would be bad for democracy, less oversight.
Yes, they claim it would weaken checks and balances, harm the democratic balance by giving the DPP too much unchecked power. That's their argument against the recalls.
But isn't there a counter-argument? Like, is what the KMT-TPP alliance was doing actually healthy democratic supervision?
Well, that's the crux of the debate, isn't it?
If you're blocking courts, making statements about surrendering, is that the kind of supervision people want? It feels like the pot calling the kettle black almost.
Recall supporters would definitely agree with that. They'd say the KMT's actions weren't legitimate supervision, but an abuse of power. And the recall is the democratic check.
So the argument is that recall itself is the democratic mechanism at work here.
Precisely. If a party loses seats because the public is profoundly dissatisfied with their actions, that's not necessarily a failure of democracy. It might be democracy functioning as designed. It's voters exercising their right to correct course.
A way for the system to self-correct when things go off track.
Exactly. It's a reminder that the mandate comes from the people, and it can be withdrawn if that trust is broken.
It really is like this big ongoing test for elected officials. You have to prove you're representing your voters.
Constantly.
And if you're so worried about being tested, about being recalled, that you call the test itself malicious or try to shut it down, well, what does that say?
It raises fundamental questions, doesn't it?
Yeah. It makes you ask, if you're fighting the accountability mechanism itself, have you maybe lost the legitimacy to represent people in the first place? A really tough question. Hashtag, tag, outro.
So wrapping things up, this recall movement in Taiwan, it really highlights that core democratic principle, accountability. It's citizens using their power to make sure their voices are heard, not just on election day, but throughout the term.
Totally. And yeah, the hurdles are incredibly high, making success difficult. But when it happens, it shows this massive groundswell of public feeling and civic energy. Today's recalls really put that clash on display, public anger versus political strategy.
It's a powerful reminder that democracy is messy, it's dynamic, and that public trust has to be constantly earned. It's not a given.
Definitely not. Okay, before we go, here's something to chew on. If recall is a legitimate democratic tool for correction, what does it signal when political actors try to undermine or delegitimize that very tool designed to hold them accountable? What does that resistance really tell us?
A good question to ponder.
All right, that is our Sip and Talk for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed our chat, learned something new, please hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss the next one.
And hey, speaking of friends, give our buddy Micky's YouTube channel a look, Micky to Life. He's got memes, music, wine stuff, travel. Lots of fun content over there.
Yeah, definitely check Micky out. And seriously, for all our listeners in Taiwan, today is the day. Get out there, make your voice heard in the recall activities. Exercise that democratic muscle.
And we need to check if Micky actually went to vote.
Haha, yes. We'll keep him honest on the next show.
And just a final reminder, our aim here is always to provide objective information and encourage you to think for yourselves. We're not criticizing any group or country, just exploring complex issues.
Absolutely. From all of us here at Sip&Talk, until next time, keep thinking, stay informed.
Take care, everyone.
I'm Ethan, your favorite pizza enthusiast and editor. Show your public opinion, Taiwanese friends. Is the Great Recall a milestone in Taiwan's democratic history? Let's witness it together.